If your knees cave inside your second toe when you step down, you have a 5 exercise fix coming right up. Film this test first. Stand on one leg on a step or box. Draw an imaginary line from your ankle straight through your second or third toe. Step down slowly, front view, and watch where your knee tracks. If your knee drifts inside that line, you've got dynamic knee valgus. That's the technical term for knee collapse. And it's not just a form issue, it's a structural control problem that puts your ACL and meniscus at risk every time you load it. The good news, simple two-dimensional methods like this have shown acceptable reliability for screening knee control, which means you can test yourself, fix it with the 5 exercises I'm about to show you, and retest at the end to see if it worked. Film your step down right now. Both legs, front view. We're gonna come back to this at the end. Because unlike most knee pain videos that just tell you to push your knees out, we're gonna change your setup so clean tracking becomes automatic, and then we're gonna load it with real training. So let's go. Here's what's actually happening when your knees collapse. Your femur, the thigh bone, adducts and internally rotates. Your tibia follows. Your foot arch collapses, and if you have limited ankle dorsiflexion, the whole problem amplifies. This isn't a knee problem. It's a control problem at 3 levels. Your hip adductors and external rotators, your ankle dorsiflexion range, and your foot's ability to maintain a tripod under load. Most videos tell you to just push your knees out. That's a cue. We're gonna use constraints. Setups that make clean tracking automatic so you can stop thinking about it and start loading it. The rule for this entire video: constrain, own, and load. We constrain the pattern so you can't cheat it. You own the movement at the new position, then we load it like real training. First, we're gonna master this pattern with bilateral work before we challenge it unilaterally. Let's start with bilateral squatting. This fixes 2 things at once: limited ankle dorsiflexion and torso compensations. If you can't get your knee forward over your midfoot without your heels coming up or your torso diving forward, you're gonna compensate somewhere. And that somewhere is usually your knees caving in. The wall forces you to keep your chest up. The heel wedge lets you access depth without needing perfect ankle mobility right now. Together, they constrain the pattern so your knee has to track over your second and third toe with a stable foot tripod. Toes 2 to 6 inches from a wall, small wedge 1/2 inch to 1 inch under your heels, kettlebell or dumbbell in a goblet position. Now squat. Nose and chest stay off the wall, knees track forward over your second and third toe, not inside, not way outside. The most common mistake, the arches collapse. Before every rep, think spread the floor. Big toe down, weight through your heel and the base of your pinky toe. That's your tripod. If the arches collapse here, pause and reset your short foot position. And don't worry, we're fixing that more in exercise 3. Start with a 2-second pause at the bottom. And if you're clean for 3 sets of 8, add weight to the goblet. If that's still clean, double kettlebell front rack. Restricted dorsiflexion is directly linked to valgus mechanics. Wall plus wedge lets you clean up tracking while you earn range of motion. You're not waiting until your ankles are perfect. You're squatting in a way that teaches the pattern now. Perfect. Now that your tracking is clean bilaterally, let's challenge it unilaterally with some reactive instability. This fixes femoral internal rotation and adduction control. The hip level drivers of knee collapse that the wall squat couldn't reach. The band isn't resistance, it's a teacher. It pulls your knee inward and you learn to actively drive it out while your knee tracks over your second and third toe. Reactive neuromuscular training with elastic bands has been shown to reduce valgus angles during squats and improve lower extremity control. You are teaching your nervous system to fight collapse in real time. Loop a resistance band around a post or rack at knee height. Stand in a split stance. The band goes around the inside of your front knee, pulling it inward. Front foot in a tripod position, big toe down, weight through the heel and pinky toe base. Torso nice and tall. Now, split squat. As you descend, the band pulls harder. You actively drive your knee out to keep it stacked over your second and third toe. If your knee drifts in at end range, you're not owning the position. Shorten your range of motion, pause at the bottom for 2 seconds, and re-earn the depth next week. Start with just the band and your body weight. When that's clean for 3 sets of 8, add load on the same side as your front leg. Goblet or front rack position. The band stays on until your tracking is automatic without it. RNT via elastic bands reduces valgus angles and improves neuromuscular control by forcing you to activate your hip external rotators and abductors under load. You're not cueing your way through a rep. You're building the motor pattern so it happens automatically. That's unilateral squatting with constraint. Now we're testing whether your foot can find its tripod under single leg instability. This fixes pelvic drop and femoral adduction, the frontal plane collapse that the goblet squat couldn't reach. This is the same movement pattern we tested at the start of the video, but now we're constraining it so you can actually own the position instead of just surviving it. Step down and single leg tasks produce high gluteal activation and have solid clinometric properties for screening and training. We're using fingertip support to keep your effort in the hip, not wasted on wobbling around trying to balance. Stand on an 8 to 12 inch box, working leg near the edge. Opposite leg hangs off. Place your fingertips on a wall for light support, just enough to steady you, not hold you up. Lower your non-working heel toward the floor. It should just kiss the ground, tap, and come back up. Your working knee stays stacked over your second and third toe the entire time. Your pelvis stays level, no hip drop, arch collapse. If your big toe lifts or your foot rolls in, your knee will follow. Before every rep, reset. Big toe down, spread the floor. That tripod has to stay locked in. If you can't maintain the tripod, you're not ready for this depth yet. Use a taller box. Start with fingertip support and moderate box height. When you can control 3 sets of 8 with a level pelvis and stacked knee, add a contralateral kettlebell, hold it on the opposite side from your working leg. Step down variations produce substantial gluteus medius and maximus activation while giving you usable assessment data. The supported version lets you build the strength and motor control before you're forced to balance. You're training the pattern, not testing your balance. This sets up what comes next perfectly. Now let's apply everything to a hinge pattern that tests real-world control. This combines everything from exercise 1 through 3, stance leg femoral external rotation and abduction capacity, tibial alignment, and foot collapse, all inside a hinge pattern that you can actually load heavy. Single leg deadlift variations produce substantial glute medius and maximus activation that can be progressed just like a main lift. The band teaches the control. The contralateral load challenges it, and the hinge pattern makes it transferable to real training. Light resistance band around the inside of your stance knee, pulling it inward. Contralateral kettlebell or dumbbell, the opposite side from your stance leg. Stance knee soft, not locked. Tripod foot locked in, now hinge. Push your hips back, keep your ribs stacked over your pelvis, and lower the weight to mid-shin. Your stance knee stays stacked over your second and third toe the entire time. The band tries to pull it in, you fight to keep it out. First, pelvis opening up. If your hips rotate toward your free leg, cue zipper to the floor. Keep your belt buckle pointed straight down. Second, end range knee drift. If your knee caves at the bottom, you're not ready for that range of motion yet. Shorten your depth and add a 2-second pause at mid-shin and re-earn the range next week. Pause the video right now. Go grab a band and try 1 set of 5 reps on each leg. Just the setup, light or no weight. Feel where that band is pulling your knee inward and feel yourself actively driving it out. That's the control we're building. Did it? Good. Now let's load it like a real lift. 3 clear stages. Start supported. 2 fingertips on a wall with a light kettlebell. When that's clean for 3 sets of 8, remove the support and start adding weight in 2.5 to 10 pound jumps. When we're moving real weight cleanly, add tempo work. 3-second lowers with 2-second pauses at mid-shin. Then progress to barbell or trap bar single leg. Peel the band off once your tracking is automatic without it. Single leg RDL variations elicit substantial glute medius and maximus activation and can be progressed like a main lift, not just a corrective drill. The RNT band builds the motor control, the contralateral load creates real training stress. You're building strength and control at the same time. One more exercise. Let's apply your bilateral tracking to unilateral loading with a split stance pattern. This combines every concept from exercises 1 through 4. Knee dominant loading while your stance leg resists collapse. The front foot heel elevation biases the knee to load more. And the contralateral front rack, weight on the opposite side from your front leg, increases the external rotation torque demand on your stance hip. Split squat and Bulgarian variations shift joint moments and muscle activation predictably. Step length and trunk angle matter. We're using the heel elevation to access depth while maintaining knee tracking and the asymmetric load to challenge your hip control under real weight. Small wedge, 1/2 inch to 1 inch under your front foot. Rear foot elevated on a bench or box. Contralateral front rack kettlebell. Rack it on the shoulder opposite your front leg. Now, split squat. Your front knee tracks over your second and third toe. Torso stays upright. The wedge lets you get depth without your heel lifting. The contralateral load tries to pull you into rotation. You resist it by keeping your ribs stacked over your pelvis, letting your torso lean forward to compensate. If you're diving forward, shorten your step length. A shorter step biases the knee more and keeps you more upright. A longer step biases the hip. Adjust based on where you need the work. Start with a moderate load in the front rack position. When you can control 3 sets of 8 with clean tracking, add heavier load or increase the time under tension with slower tempos. Split squat and Bulgarian variation shift joint moments and muscle activation predictably based on your setup. Step length and trunk angle matter for where you feel the work. The heel elevation lets you train knee dominant loading with clean tracking. The contralateral front rack increases the external rotation demand on your stance hip. That's all 5 exercises. Now let's talk how this actually lives in your training. You don't need to do all 5 exercises every session. Here's how to slot this into your training. Pick 2 of these exercises and build your lower day around them. For example, RNT split squat as your primary squat variation, then RNT Single-Leg RDL as your hinge, or wall-facing goblet squat paired with supported lateral step downs. The constraints teach the pattern. You load them like real training. 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps at an RPE of 7 to 8. Add 2-second pauses in the knee loaded range, bottom of the squat, mid shin on the RDL, the bottom of the step down. If motor control is your limiter, if you're still fighting the constraint, use 8 to 10 reps at a controlled 3-0-1 tempo instead. That's 3 seconds down, 0 pause at the bottom, 1 second up. You're building the pattern before you chase the load. 2 to 3 lower body days per week. Rotate your constraints based on what your film step down shows you. Your film step down will tell you exactly what to work on. If your knee is still tracking inside that second toe line, keep the constraints in. If it's clean, you can start peeling them off and loading the traditional versions. Refilm that single leg step down every week. Front view, same box height, watch for knee tracking over your second and third toe and a steady pelvis. That's your system. Constrain, load. Now let's close the loop. Go film that single leg step down again. Both legs, front view, same test we started with. Compare it to your first attempt. Is your knee tracking over your second and third toe? Is your pelvis staying level? If yes, you just fix a movement pattern in under 15 minutes. If not, you now know exactly which constraints to prioritize. Don't out-cue a bad setup. Constrain it, own it, then load it. If this approach to training, evidence-based, systematic, no BS, is what you're looking for, subscribe to the channel. If you're dealing with actual knee pain during squats or stairs, I've got a video on testing your patellar tendon with a 10-second fix. The link is up here. And if your heels are still coming up in your squats after fixing your ankle mobility, that video is here too. We're building a library of content that actually fixes movement problems instead of just talking about them. Drop a comment and let me know what your step down showed you. I'll read every single one and your feedback shapes what we cover next. I'll see you in the next video.